Imagine watching a movie only to realize, to your growing horror, that your own father is the terrifying villain on screen. It may sound like the setup for a dark psychological thriller, something cooked up in the shadowy corners of a screenwriter's imagination, but for Lily Rose Depp, daughter of Johnny Depp, this was no fiction. It was a chilling real-life experience, a moment that blurred the line between art and reality in the most jarring way imaginable. For many of us, the awkwardness of watching a movie with our parents is a universal rite of passage. It usually strikes when an unexpectedly steamy scene creeps onto the screen, or when the plot veers into uncomfortable territory, prompting shared glances and sudden trips to the kitchen. But imagine that discomfort multiplying tenfold, elevated by the surreal fact that the character causing all the fear, chaos, and gore is your own dad. And not just acting vaguely creepy, but starring as a deranged, throat-slitting barber in a grim musical drenched in blood and vengeance. That's the reality Lily Rose faced when she saw Johnny Depp in the title role of Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street. The film was released in 2007, a bold and eerie departure from the swashbuckling charm Depp had recently perfected. As Captain Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, directed by Tim Burton, a frequent Depp collaborator, Sweeney Todd was a gothic musical horror based on the Stephen Sondheim Broadway classic. It told the tale of Benjamin Barker, a wronged man who returns to London under the alias Sweeney Todd to exact revenge on those who destroyed his life. He does so with horrifying theatrical flair by giving his victims close shaves that end in fatal slashes. The bodies? Disposed of via a pie shop owned by his equally twisted partner, Mrs. Lovett, played by Helena Bonham Carter. The film, while beautifully shot and critically acclaimed, is steeped in themes of grief, vengeance, and insanity. It is not for the faint of heart, and it's certainly not tailored for children, yet somehow 8-year-old Lily Rose ended up watching it. One might imagine the Depp household as being more exposed to the behind-the-scenes mechanics of filmmaking, with children growing up on film sets, seeing costumes, props, green screens, and the like, but none of that prepared her for the emotional gut punch of seeing her real-life father transform into a brutal, remorseless killer on screen. Johnny Depp later spoke openly about the aftermath. Lily Rose was not just confused, she was deeply shaken. She turned to him after watching the movie and with childlike sincerity and disbelief exclaimed, "I can't believe you let me watch that!" Her words were more than just a complaint. They reflected a genuine sense of betrayal, a rupture in the safe image most children hold of their parents. For a child to witness a parent in such a violent and grotesque context, even if it's fictional, can feel almost like a breach of trust. To understand the emotional weight of that moment, it's important to consider the developmental lens. At the age of 8, children are just beginning to form a more nuanced understanding of fiction versus reality. They might understand the concept of acting, but that cognitive recognition doesn't always insulate them from emotional responses. A parent, the very embodiment of safety and comfort, suddenly becomes an agent of violence. Even if the child knows it's make-believe, the visceral imagery and emotional cues can be internalized in unsettling ways. This isn't merely speculation. Child development experts have long warned against exposing young children to violent or emotionally intense content, especially when familiar faces are involved. Dr. Rachel Bryant, a noted child psychologist, once pointed out that when a trusted adult like a parent is portrayed in a violent or malevolent role, children can experience what she calls emotional displacement. It disrupts their secure attachment, if only temporarily, creating confusion about what's real and what's pretend, and leading to fear responses that can linger long after the credits roll. In Lily Rose's case, the trauma wasn't just about the gore, it was the transformation. Johnny Depp is known for his immersive and often bizarre characters. Whether it's Edward Scissorhands, the Mad Hatter, or Jack Sparrow, his ability to disappear into a role is legendary. But in Sweeney Todd, there's a coldness that makes the character uniquely chilling. His eyes are hollow, his movements calculated. There's no glimmer of charm or warmth to cling to. For a daughter watching that, it wasn't just that her dad was acting scary. It was that he disappeared entirely, replaced by a stranger capable of unimaginable things. The experience had a lasting impact on Johnny as well. From that moment on, he made a conscious decision not to show his darker films to Lily Rose, or his son Jack, unless they explicitly asked. He realized that while his artistic pursuits might be lauded by critics and fans, his primary role in real life was that of a father. And part of that responsibility meant protecting his children not only from external threats but from the emotional fallout of his own career choices. It's a striking moment of parental introspection, one not often associated with Hollywood. Stars who are more frequently cast as out of touch or narcissistic. Johnny's response showed a depth of emotional intelligence and vulnerability. In interviews, he didn't brush off the incident or joke about it. He admitted fault. He took the time to explain how it changed the way he navigated his career in the context of his family. That's no small thing for someone whose identity and income are so closely tied to his ability to take on challenging and often disturbing roles. And yet, in the face of his daughter's distress, he recalibrated his boundaries. It was a moment of real-world gravity amid the fantasy and illusion of his profession. It's worth noting that Lily Rose would later go on to enter the entertainment world herself, becoming a model and actress. Perhaps that traumatic childhood moment added layers to her own understanding of performance and audience. Maybe it gave her a rare insight into how art can deeply affect those watching, especially when the lines between character and reality are blurred by personal connection. Her own work has already been praised for its emotional depth, and it's interesting to wonder whether her early brush with horror and her father's raw commitment to a role shaped her as a performer. This story also opens a window into a broader conversation about the responsibility actors have when it comes to their families. Most of us don't have to worry that our day job might frighten or emotionally wound our children, but for actors, especially those who portray villains, abusers, or psychologically complex characters, there's a unique burden. How do you explain to a child that what you do isn't real, especially when it looks and feels so real? Many Hollywood parents have faced similar questions. Bryan Cranston, for example, has talked about how his role as Walter White in Breaking Bad created discomfort at home. Heath Ledger, who isolated himself to prepare for his haunting portrayal of the Joker, reportedly struggled to balance his roles with fatherhood. These are not isolated dilemmas. They reflect a very human tension, the desire to create meaningful art and the equally powerful drive to be a present, nurturing parent. Johnny Depp's experience with Sweeney Todd and its impact on his daughter Lily Rose wasn't just a one-off moment of parental concern. It marked a subtle but significant shift in how he approached his career choices with his family's emotional well-being in mind. Before Sweeney Todd, Depp was known for embracing characters that were complex, often dark, and sometimes unsettling. His filmography during the late 1990s and early 2000s was a testament to his willingness to dive deep into eccentric, troubled, or morally ambiguous roles. From the enigmatic Edward Scissorhands to the brooding and intense roles in films like Donnie Brasco and From Hell, Depp had carved a niche as a versatile actor unafraid of the shadows. However, Sweeney Todd was something different. It was a full-on descent into horror wrapped in a gothic, operatic musical. The visceral nature of the story, the gore and the cold, relentless character of the demon Barber clashed strongly with the image of a caring father. Seeing his daughter so upset and unsettled after watching him perform this terrifying role forced Depp to reconsider how the characters he portrayed might resonate beyond the screen, especially with those closest to him. This newfound awareness didn't mean Depp stopped taking on challenging or dark roles altogether. Instead, it seemed to influence how he managed his career alongside his family life. For example, when Depp reunited with director Tim Burton for Alice in Wonderland in 2010, the tone of his character, the Mad Hatter, was markedly different. From the grim intensity of Sweeney Todd, the Mad Hatter was whimsical, eccentric, and vivid, set in a world full of vibrant colors and fantastical elements. It was still unconventional and somewhat dark in its own right, but it leaned heavily into fantasy and whimsy, a style that seemed more accessible and less likely to frighten a young child. The shift from the bloody horrors of Sweeney Todd to the imaginative wonderland of Alice in Wonderland illustrated Depp's growing consideration for the emotional impact his work could have on his children. It's a delicate balancing act for any actor who is also a parent, pursuing artistic expression and challenging roles while being mindful of the emotional safety of their family. Depp appeared to navigate this balance with care. Instead of entirely avoiding roles with darker themes, he seemed to opt for projects that maintained a degree of separation. From outright horror or trauma when he knew his children might see the films. This approach also extended to the way Depp talked about his work in public and with his children. In interviews, he expressed a clear understanding that what happens on screen is fiction, but for children, especially young ones, the lines can blur easily. His decision not to show Lily Rose some of his darker films, unless she specifically asked to watch them, was a proactive way of controlling the narrative and protecting her from unnecessary distress. This sensitivity was likely influenced by his own experiences as a child actor, as well as his awareness of the unique pressures that come with being a famous parent. The impact of this thoughtful career adjustment isn't always obvious from the outside. Depp's filmography still includes many roles with complex, sometimes dark characters. Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean embodies a kind of roguish, chaotic energy with moments of darkness and danger, but it's largely fun and adventurous. Qualities that can appeal to younger audiences without terrifying them. Similarly, his portrayal of characters like Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or the enigmatic Tonto in The Lone Ranger highlights his ability to choose parts that, while layered and nuanced, maintain a tone appropriate for family viewing or at least less likely to traumatize children. By contrast, the roles he avoided or limited access to for his kids were those that plunged deeply into violent or psychologically disturbing territory. This decision wasn't about shying away from serious acting challenges. It was about parenting with emotional intelligence. It acknowledged the fact that children don't have the adult perspective needed to understand the separation between character and actor fully. Seeing a parent portray a violent or frightening character can create confusion, fear, or even feelings of betrayal, because for a child, a parent is a source of safety and protection, not horror. Beyond just the film choices, Depp's parenting style around media exposure seemed to emphasize communication and respect for his children's feelings. He didn't just assume Lily Rose could handle the darker material, he gave her agency by only showing her those movies if she expressed a genuine interest. This kind of open dialogue is critical in helping children navigate the complex emotions that can arise from consuming media, especially when that media includes familiar faces or family members. It's also worth noting how Depp's sensitivity might have influenced other aspects of his public persona. Known for his kindness and often gentle demeanor off-screen, he's someone who seems to understand the power of vulnerability, both in his acting and his personal life. This empathy likely plays a role in how he approaches his children's exposure to the often brutal and unforgiving world of Hollywood. The awareness that fame and film can impact a family's emotional health is not something every celebrity parent publicly acknowledges, but Depp's experience with Sweeney Todd made it clear just how real that impact can be. Experts in child development and psychology support this kind of mindfulness. When children see a loved one in a frightening or violent role, it can momentarily disrupt their sense of safety and trust. For actors like Depp, who bring authenticity to intense roles, this disruption can be profound. His choice to moderate what his children watched was a way to preserve that sense of security, even while allowing his artistic career to continue flourishing. The balance Depp struck is instructive beyond Hollywood families. Many parents face similar dilemmas in managing what their children watch, read, or hear, particularly as media becomes more accessible than ever. The lesson here is that protecting a child's emotional health sometimes means setting boundaries around exposure and having honest conversations about what fiction really means. Depp's career after Sweeney Todd also reflects a nuanced understanding of the art of storytelling itself. He gravitated toward roles that offered complexity without unnecessarily traumatizing younger audiences. Characters like Captain Jack Sparrow are morally ambiguous and adventurous, but often humorous and charismatic. This blend allows for storytelling that entertains a broad audience while maintaining a degree of emotional safety for family members. Moreover, Depp's thoughtful approach extended to how he managed the public perception of his roles. He didn't glamorize the darkness for the sake of shock value. Instead, he acknowledged the craft and the challenge of playing such intense characters while maintaining a grounded perspective on their effects on real people, especially his children. His reflections on Lily Rose's reaction have become part of a broader conversation about the responsibility actors and filmmakers have toward their own families. In many ways, this evolution in Depp's career and parenting shows a rare and commendable blend of artistic integrity and parental responsibility. He didn't sacrifice one for the other, but found a way to honor both. His choices underscore how even those living in the glare of Hollywood's spotlight grapple with the same challenges most parents face: how to nurture and protect children in a world that is often scary and complicated. Looking back, the shift in Depp's film choices after Sweeney Todd is a testament to his growth as a parent and an artist. It's a reminder that even legends have to adjust and learn from their experiences, especially when it comes to their children's well-being. This story is not just about the horrors of a fictional barber, but about the very real love and care behind the scenes, shaping decisions that impact a family's emotional safety. Ultimately, Johnny Depp's journey after Sweeney Todd highlights an important truth. Being a great actor doesn't mean neglecting the emotional needs of your loved ones. It means sometimes making choices that prioritize family, even if it means passing on a potentially iconic role or altering the kinds of stories you tell. And in doing so, Depp set an example not only for celebrity parents, but for anyone navigating the delicate balance between work and family in a world full of stories, both beautiful and terrifying. This experience also illuminates something else about Johnny Depp that fans don't always get to see. Beyond the headlines, the court cases, the accolades, and the red carpets, there is a father who deeply loves his children and who, at least in this moment, was willing to admit a mistake and grow from it. That's something not all celebrities are willing to do in public. Of course, not every child who sees a scary movie starring their parent will be traumatized. Some kids have a higher tolerance for horror. Others are already aware of the movie magic tricks behind the scenes. But what made Lily Rose's reaction so intense was likely the combination of age, emotional sensitivity, and the shock factor. She didn't expect her dad to be the villain, and that's what made it unforgettable. And then there's the added twist. Johnny Depp himself doesn't like watching his own movies. In interviews, he said it makes him uncomfortable. He doesn't enjoy revisiting performances, even the widely praised ones. Maybe in a way this trait helped him detach from the moment. But after Lily Rose's reaction, perhaps it also took on a new layer. Avoiding the playback might have helped him forget the moment he terrified his own daughter. This story, poignant and deeply human, reminds us that behind every screen legend is a real person with real relationships and real consequences. For all his accolades and iconic roles, Johnny Depp was, in this instance, just a dad who misjudged what his child could handle. And when she told him how deeply it affected her, he listened. He adjusted. That's the kind of arc you rarely see in celebrity profiles, but one that deserves to be told. So, what about you? Did you ever watch a movie as a kid that left you shaken? Maybe one you were definitely too young to see but did anyway? These memories, however uncomfortable, often become the stories we tell over and over again. They linger not just because of what we saw, but because of how they made us feel and who was with us when we watched. If you found this story compelling, there's even more to explore. Johnny Depp's reluctance to watch his own films, his complicated relationship with fame, and the way fatherhood shaped his career choices are all topics worthy of a closer look. In our next feature, we'll uncover how Depp's personal life has informed his performances in ways you might never have guessed, and why he continues to remain such a complex figure in Hollywood lore. Until then, if this story struck a chord, be sure to share it with someone who'd appreciate it. Give it a like, subscribe for more deep dives into the unseen stories behind the stars, and as always, thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the scariest thing in a horror movie is realizing the villain is someone you love.